G'day legends, Dino from 𝗘𝗣𝗜𝗚𝗧 here, and today we're going to have a look at how I built this ultimate workbench. This thing is packed full of features, toolboxes, dog holes, slab flatteners, router tables, you name it, it's got it all. Let's get stuck into it. This is something I've wanted to build for a really long time, but I've never really had the confidence. For some reason, the perfect workbench is something that's always been very intimidating to me, and I've always procrastinated about it and worried, if I build it, will I build it right? Today, all that's going to change. I'm taking the chance and I'm just going to build my ultimate workbench. The ultimate workbench to me is something that has loads of functionality and something that will increase my workflow. I want to incorporate some toolboxes to house all my power tools to have them right at my disposal. I 100% want a router table. That's something I use fairly regularly. And I also want it to have a slab flattener. I know that's a big ask and it's something I've been dreaming of for a really long time. My workshop isn't that big, so I'm determined to make that work. And I think I've come up with a way to incorporate both a slab flattener and a workbench within the confines of my moderate sized workshop. I'm thinking if the top flips, I can have a workbench on one side and a slab flattener on the other side. And to me, that just screams this thing needs to be strong. If it's gonna rotate, it needs a lot of structure. And when I think of structure, I think of steel. So that's what I've decided to build the frame out of. And this means for me, doing something I haven't done for ages, and that's welding. Full disclosure here, for all you welders and experts out there, I am not a welder and I am not an expert. It's probably been about 5 years since I've welded anything, but I'm gonna give it my best. If you are a pro and you have any advice or feedback for me, feel free to leave it in the comments. I just ask, please be nice. I know how brutal you welders are. And what you see me doing here is just making two basic squares that will form the ends of the workbench. And all I've done is cut some lengths of steel. I've tacked it all together to get it square, and then I've just final welded it together. The steel I've chosen to use for this is just 50 by 50 millimeter RHS with about a 2.5 millimeter wall thickness. This workbench is part of a 3-part workshop revamp series. I finally cracked it, I got fed up, and I've decided to completely rip my workshop apart and rebuild it from scratch. There was so much infrastructure here that I just wasn't happy with, and a lot of it I inherited when we first moved into this property, and it's time to make it my own. This is episode 2. If you haven't watched episode 1, I'll pop up a link now. Go and check that out. And to make sure you don't miss episode 3, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Now that I've got my end pieces done, I'm just going to clamp them to the workbench, cut some bottom rails and weld those in place too. And welding these bottom rails in place will determine the final length of the workbench. So if you're going to make one, this is probably the part you want to get right. And the other thing you want to get right when you're welding, particularly galvanized steel like I am, is having proper ventilation, and also a respirator that filters out fumes is really handy. I've got an older brother who is a welder and boiler maker, and I've seen him with gal poisoning a couple of times, and it's not something you ever want to go through, so please be careful, guys. I'm going to go ahead and cut some braces to lock these corners in, and this will just stop the sides from flexing. The top of this workbench isn't actually going to have any structure because it's going to be rotating, remember. So this will just stop those sides from pinching in when there's weight on it. If you wanted to make a workbench that's like this, there's nothing to stop you from using wood. If you're not confident welding or you don't know how to weld, that's okay. I have no doubt in my mind that you couldn't make this out of wood. You'd probably just have to beef it up substantially, maybe use some 4x4 hardwood, use a lot of bracing, and there's no reason this design couldn't be replicated in wood. The only reason I'm welding it is because I've been looking at my welder under my workbench, getting covered in 𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗪 dust for the last couple of years, and I've been dying to crack it out and build something. I've just got a couple of pieces for cross bracing. I'm just going to go ahead and weld them in. This will serve two purposes. One, it'll give the base a lot more structure, and two, it'll give me a spot to screw in my toolboxes later. Quick little recap, we've made some sides, we've made some bottom rails, we've made some bracing, we've welded it all together, we've created spaces for our toolbox, and now we're going to screw on some wheels. I'll give 10 points to anyone that can tell me what I'm about to do wrong. And if you weren't quick enough to notice what I did wrong, I don't know if it was the welding fumes or it was just the excitement to screw these wheels on, but I actually screwed the first wheel onto the side of the workbench and not the bottom. So I had to unscrew it, weld up all my holes, and then screw it onto the bottom. What a dingus. And now at the part of the build that I've been both dreading and looking forward to, if that's even possible. We've got to make this top. I've been thinking about this thing for ages, contemplating all the obstacles I've got to overcome here. I need to leave enough room for toolboxes and I don't want the top to interfere. By interfere, I mean if the toolboxes are too high and the top is too wide, when the top rotates, it's going to hit the toolboxes. So I need to take both of those things into account. So the height of my power tools is going to determine the depth of the toolboxes, which will then in turn determine the width of the top. I know there could have been 1,000 better ways to work that out, but for me, I'm a visual person, so having that visual representation of that spinning piece of wood on my finger worked out an absolute treat for me. And now that I've got all my dimensions locked down, I can go ahead and cut some steel and get prepped to weld this top together. And this is where I almost made a huge mistake. As you can see, I'm grinding everything, taking all the burrs off and getting ready to weld it together. Chucked my clamp on, got everything squared up, and I was just about to weld it, and then I realized I needed to drill some holes in the end of this piece of steel and the next one, and same on the other end, to create the spinning mechanism. This will make a bit more sense in a minute, but this will form the hinge that will allow the top to rotate. And I'm really happy I caught that, because that would have been an absolute disaster. It would have created so much more work for me, but luckily for me, I caught it in time, drilled my holes, welded everything together, and happy days. Now that I've got the end pieces welded in, I'm just going to go ahead and weld this long section in, and this will just form a tool trough. And I'm really stoked to have a tool trough in this workbench. It's something I've always wanted ever since I saw 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗖𝗛 build one into his workbench. And all it is, it's somewhere to slide your tools. Anytime you're working on something big, just push them into the trough and they're out of your way and on with your work. And I'm just going to pop in a couple of internal braces, and just like the outside pieces, I need to drill a 40mm hole, but I'm only going to drill it in one side. And this is also for the rotating assembly. And once I got my holes drilled, I marked where one of these braces to go, chucked my clamps on, popped on my Darth Vader helmet and welded them in place. And hopefully by now, you'll start to understand where I'm going with this rotating assembly. I'm going to cut two smaller sections of this tube, and it's going to pass completely through the end tube and into that brace that I only drilled through one side. It took a bit of work to get these pipes in, just the nature of the fitment, it was really tight. But you know what they say, if it doesn't fit, just get a bigger hammer. And after a bit of gentle persuasion, it found its way home. I always really enjoy learning from other people and trying to understand the way that people would problem solve things themselves. I'm absolutely stoked with how I built this, and it works perfectly. Although I understand there's probably over 1,000 different ways to make this mechanism, and I'm really curious how you do it. I was really shocked how quickly this workbench came together, at least the frame of it anyway. I'd planned for probably 3 or 4 days of welding on this bench, but I actually got the entire frame done in one day, which really kind of shocked me because I hadn't welded in so long, but I just kind of got in a flow and I just kept going. Before I knew it, the sun was starting to set and it was time to go in and have a beer. But before we get to that point, we've got to finish these rotating assemblies. And all I did was cut some square and some round tube, found the center, marked the areas I needed to grind out, and ground them out. Now this round tube, the inner diameter is only just slightly larger than the outer diameter of that tube that you saw me weld in earlier. So it'll slide over there perfectly. Okay, legend, acknowledgement time. I just want to take a second out to thank you for hanging out with me, supporting my channel, and helping me grow. This channel's only been going for about 3 months and the response has been phenomenal. So appreciate your love and thanks for hanging out and coming along for the ride. To lock this top in place, I'm just going to use these 4 little spring-loaded latches. These will just make sure everything stays in place and the top doesn't spin while I'm working on it. So this is where the build was going really well until I decided to paint it. Originally I wasn't going to paint it because it's galvanized steel, but everywhere I've welded would need some kind of protection or a rust. So I had this big brainwave, genius idea, I'm going to paint it orange because my colors are black and orange. So off I popped down to the hardware store and I brought all these cans of paint and prime, is what it advertised on the can. No primer needed. Cool, no worries. Started painting. After like 4 cans, I realized pretty quickly that this stuff was like completely transparent. It was the worst paint I've ever used in my life, and honestly was just a complete shambles. So off I popped back to the hardware store, feeling completely defeated and just totally frustrated with myself. I decided to actually go and speak to the guys at the hardware store instead of just taking it upon myself, because I'm not a paint expert. Got them to mix me up some paint and problem solved. 3 coats of this stuff and it looks an absolute treat. Huge shout out to Walpole Hardware for saving my butt once again. Now the painting debacle's over, it's time to measure up for some tops. A couple of things to consider here. One top is going to be bigger than the other. Remember, I have a trough on the workbench side and the slab flattener side will be a full sheet. It will cover the full area. The material I've chosen to use for the work surfaces on this is just form ply. It's a hardwood ply that has like a nice laminate on top. It's really hard wearing and glue doesn't stick to it, which is a bonus. It's readily available and it's not that expensive. And because it's only held in by a few screws, once it gets dinged up, it's not that hard to replace. You can imagine how useful this trough's going to be. No more putting tools away mid-project or having to move things off the workbench. Just slide it into the trough and you can just keep working. I know this is a bit backwards and it's something I probably should have thought of before I screwed the top on. I did remove it and I actually decided to incorporate some dog holes to put some bench dogs on the workbench side of the workbench. If you don't know what bench dogs are, they're just little stoppers like a little peg that sits in a hole within the workbench, and they're used purely for things like chiseling or drilling or anything you need to have a physical stop. So you can put a piece of material up against it and it won't slide around on your workbench. You can also use them for when you're cutting big sheets of ply or whatever. You can place a series of them across the top of your workbench, throw your sheet on that, and that way you don't risk cutting into your bench top. It'll cut into the bench dogs if you do happen to hit one. It really just protects your work surface and you'll get years more out of it. Bench dogs are such an easy thing to make too. All I did was drill a bunch of 19mm holes or 3/4 inch holes in my worktop, and then I just used a piece of dowel that fits in that hole really snugly, cut a couple of strips of wood, drilled some 19mm or 3/4 inch holes in that, cut it into little squares and just glued the pegs in. Simple pimple. And I just whipped up a quick little rack, screwed it to the workbench so these little dudes have somewhere to live. And as if this workbench doesn't already have enough going on, now we're going to add some toolboxes, and this is something that I've really wanted for a long time. I've always had my power tools mounted on the wall. They get covered in dust. I have to walk over to get one, and it really just breaks up my workflow. So I've decided to mount boxes underneath the workbench and utilize that space. It'll keep the dust off them and they'll just be right there anytime I need to grab one. The only thing I liked about my old workbench was the fact that it had a router table in the end of it, so that's something I 100% have to have. So I've just got one of these little aluminium inserts that you can attach a little trim router to. These are really inexpensive. You can pick them up on most websites like Amazon or whatever. All I'm going to do is find the center of the piece of ply, and then I'm just going to route out a little inset for it to go in, screw it in place. Then I just marked the locations for my T-tracks, took it over to my table saw and cut the grooves. I kept mounting this router table as simple as possible. All I did was cut a couple of triangles of ply. I just screwed them to the inside of the workbench and then I just screwed the router table onto that. The main reason I did this is I plan on putting a little dust extractor under here when I eventually get one. So I wanted to keep it nice and open and have heaps of space under there. Righto legends, this is probably the part you've all been waiting for. Slab flattener time. Starting off with using some of these stainless steel rails that are used for things like industrial 3D printers and I don't know, anything that needs to move along an X or Y axis. There was a massive drama in even getting these to Western Australia. No one would ship them, so I had to ship them to Melbourne to my father-in-law's house and wait a couple of months until we flew over to see family so I could bring them back home on the plane. So these are just a couple of little bearing blocks that run along that rail. And all I've done is made a little template so I can make a brace that will connect the two together. Making little templates like this is a really good hack for when you have to do precise, repeatable work. So I'll do this on both sides of the table and I'll connect these two braces with some other longer braces that will connect everything together and it will make a carriage that will run along these rails. And this sort of completes the frame of the carriage. Once I've got that done, I'll take another couple of these rails and screw them in place, and that'll just allow this thing to run up and down and left and right, but not inside and out. And I'm pretty much going to repeat what I did earlier with the main carriage, basically building a carriage that runs along a carriage. Now, to mount the router to the slab flattener, I'm going to use some of this aluminium angle. This will just create a nice solid base to attach a piece of plate to, and then attach the router to that. And for the plate, I'm just going to cut to size a piece of 6mm aluminium, and I'm just going to use the little plastic, I don't know what this thing's called, it comes on the bottom of the router. Anyway, I've pulled it off and I'm going to use that as a template. So I got all my holes cut out and I took it back over to the sled and I marked out all the locations for some holes. I drilled those. The holes will just be to put some pop rivets in. I went back and attached the plate to the bottom of the router and then went back over to the sled again, and then I just pop riveted the plate to the sled. I'm still waiting for my router bit to show up, so I haven't had a chance to use this slab flattener. I will do another video on that and I will review it and we'll talk about anything I do and do not like on it. But for now, that's a wrap, guys. Let's check out the review. The perfect workbench doesn't exist. There's only a workbench that's perfect for you. And this workbench is absolutely perfect for me. I'm so stoked to have a slab flattener. I've actually got a proper router table now, a place to put all my power tools that are no longer going to accumulate dust. I've got some awesome little bench dogs that are going to save my workbench from getting scarred up and ripped to pieces, so that's really cool. Unexpected bonus, I think this thing looks absolutely insane. I love the black and orange. I think the contrast is just awesome, and it's also my brand colors. Really looking forward to hearing your feedback on this workbench. Just remember, this is episode 2 of 3. I've got an entire workshop revamp coming up after this, so if you're not already, subscribe and turn on your notifications. You don't want to miss out, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Peace.